Matt Gaetz, the Florida Congressman Trump nominated for Attorney General, has officially withdrawn his name from consideration, and oh my God, do we have stuff to talk about. And yes, I did refrain from saying Gaetz pulled out in my hook. Please clap. Hey guys, I'm Hannah Cox with Base Politics. Welcome to my channel where I bring you my politically homeless takes on politics and culture. Before we dive in today, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and of course, ring that notification bell so you never miss one of my episodes. Whew, guys, this is crazy. Literally, as I was outlining today's show, because I was already planning on talking about all of the controversy around Matt Gaetz, he took to Twitter to make this announcement, writing, "I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. I remain fully committed to see that Donald J. Trump is the most successful president in history. I will forever be honored that President Trump nominated me to lead the Department of Justice, and I'm certain he will save America." As my friend Isaac said on Twitter in response to that information, there's a couple different ways to read this. One, whatever is about to come out is going to be way worse than what we already know. Or two, that Gaetz sent senators were clearly not going to budge on his confirmation based on what we already knew, or some combo of both. Either way, this ended a lot faster than we expected, but a lot of people who thought Trump was just going to recess appoint him through, or that there are no checks on this Trump administration, look quite silly right now. And I agree with him. I think that there are several of Trump's nominees who are going to have a very tough time getting through the Senate, and I have not bought this idea that the Senate is just going to roll over and let him make recess appointments, which is something that people in his camp have been suggesting and that people on the left have been kind of freaking out about. The fact that that is not going to happen, it seems, particularly at least not with this candidate, really should quell some of the fears people on the left have about Trump just having an unchecked power with this presidency. But I realize maybe I'm getting ahead of all of myself here, and maybe not everybody is up to speed on what all has gone down around Matt Gaetz. It is a doozy, so let's rewind. Of all Trump's nominees, Gaetz was the most unserious and the most problematic. I was gagged when Trump made this announcement. But I've been waiting to discuss it with you because I don't personally like weighing in on situations, especially when there are serious accusations at play, before we have full information. But unfortunately, it seems like that is not something we're very likely going to get access to in this case because of what just went down, and the reasons why I think are important for people to be aware of.
This is what Republicans do best. They figure out how to keep power and not get in trouble despite doing horrendous things. The House Ethics Committee has been investigating Matt Gaetz for years now for some very serious crimes, and they were set to release their report right before he got nominated to be Attorney General. And Matt Gaetz's move is to resign from Congress right away. Now, why did he do that? He's not confirmed yet. There's a very good reason why he did it. Because technically, this committee no longer has jurisdiction over him at all if he's not a member of the House anymore. He's essentially using a technicality to try to get out of any kind of accountability for some pretty rough crimes. Now, this bipartisan committee is meeting today to decide if they can still release what they found in their investigation. It's damaging, potentially career-ending stuff. But of course, the Republican narrative is that he's not in the House anymore, you can't release this, it's against the rules. And Democrats in major positions of power need to have a very straightforward narrative to this. Rules. If this guy wants to be the head of the Justice Department, he's got to prove that he could adhere to the laws of the United States of America if he's going to run those laws.
Now, what exactly was the Congressional Ethics Committee investigating, you might ask? Oh, just accusations of sex with teenage girls, trafficking them across state lines, hardcore drug use, and paying for sexual favors. Casual stuff. Now, the Justice Department actually launched an investigation, a criminal investigation into Gaetz around 2020 over these accusations, but ultimately they chose not to pursue charges and closed its case in February of 2023. Make no mistake, they did not clear him. I've seen many Republicans and MAGA people saying oh, he was exonerated, he was cleared. That's not what happened. They just didn't have enough evidence to move forward, which is often the case in cases that involve sexual crimes. times. They're very difficult to pursue. And that is an unfortunate reality. I think some of it is that the justice system and law enforcement don't care as much about solving these cases as they should. But I also think, to be fair to them, they're very difficult cases to prove and solve. Like, you have to have a lot of evidence. Oftentimes you don't have that. You're often dealing with like he said, she said situations. And when you are working to bring charges against a very rich and powerful individual, which Matt Gaetz is, not only is he a sitting congressman, he also is a Nepo baby. His dad was a politician. His family's worth like something around $400 million. So in order for them to move forward with charges, they had to really have their ducks in a row. And it seems, they've never officially said, but it seems the speculation is that they didn't have enough evidence and they didn't find the witnesses reliable enough to move forward. Tale as old as time, honestly. Now, shortly thereafter, once the actual criminal investigation was paused, the Ethics Committee in Congress picked up its own investigation, and that has been ongoing for a number of years now. So like, these accusations have been out there. It's not like Trump nominated him and this wasn't something already on people's radar. Like, we've known that this was floating around for some time. Now, aside from being a deeply unserious candidate for attorney general, because this guy has practically no legal experience, like he got a law degree. I think he worked as a lawyer for a couple of years, not in criminal matters at all, and then basically went into the family business of being a politician. So to nominate him as the head of the entire Justice Department is just kind of wild. The only real qualification Gaetz has for this role is that he is a massive, massive Trump simp. Like, he's like a pick-me girl version of a MAGA nut. Like, he wants to be seen with and by Donald Trump more than anything else in life. He's very loyal to him, which also makes him a very bad pick for this role. Like, obviously, that's something that Trump values above all else, and how he's going to use the Justice Department remains very much up in the air. It could be definitely used as like a witch hunt, a retribution arm, but typically in this country, the Justice Department has operated outside of the presidency. It is often operated by somebody who's not overtly cozy with the president and has even been used in order to act as a check on the president themselves. Clearly, putting somebody like Gaetz in that position would completely dismantle those norms. And naturally, many have also rightfully pointed out how corrupt it would be to have an individual that's facing such serious accusations in charge of the Justice Department. I don't expect Trump to be concerned with such matters because he himself is no stranger to sexual scandals, but most normal people had concerns, including, it seems, many Republican senators. And on top of all of that, the timing for which Trump and Gaetz went about this whole play here was sus, to say the very least. Because it seemed pretty apparent all along that Gaetz would not be able to get through a Senate confirmation hearing. Like, obviously, maybe this was some sort of loyalty test from Trump, but in reality, I don't think any serious person really thought that he, of all people, would get confirmed by the Senate. That's just how ridiculous of a pick he actually is. And for all these reasons, I don't think Trump or Gaetz ever actually anticipated that he would become AG. I really do think this was about protecting Matt Gaetz from this ethics committee investigation, because the committee has had its investigation done, it seems, for a few months, but due to its own rules, could not release that report during an election or close to an election, which Matt Gaetz had this year. So that bought him some time. He just got reelected. And then immediately after he gets reelected, he is appointed as Attorney General, and then he drops out, removing this committee's ability to hold him accountable, to investigate him, to really allocate any consequences they might think are worthy for what they have uncovered. And that's just weird to do. Like, most people, when they are appointed for a big role, would still hold on to the position of power they currently have, just in case they don't make it through the confirmation. There's no reason for him to have given up that seat, having just won re-election, for any other reason than to get away from this report. So while we can't prove anything, he clearly does seem to have done this to get out from under this layer of accountability. And notably, many congressional Republicans are defending that. According to CNN, members of the Republican-led House Ethics Panel voted along party lines on Wednesday not to release the results of their investigation, and instead decided to meet again on December 5th to vote on the final report. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congress's nuttiest member who hails from my state of Georgia and a close buddy of Gaetz, took to Twitter with this bizarre defense of her friend's records seeing the light of day. She wrote, "For my Republican colleagues in the House and Senate, if we are going to release ethics reports and rip apart our own that Trump has appointed, then put it all out there for the American people to see. Yes, all the ethics reports and claims, including the one I filed, all of your sexual harassment and assault claims that were secretly settled, paying off victims with taxpayer money, the entire Jeffrey Epstein files, tapes, recordings, witness interviews, but not just those, there's more. Epstein isn't the only asset. If we're going to dance, let's all dance in the sunlight. I'll make sure we do." Like, your terms are acceptable, lady. I love this person on Twitter said, "So if I'm to understand, the lady who's been screaming about groomers has information on Republicans about sexual impropriety, but she's just going to hold on to it unless people stop picking on her friend for screwing an underage girl." Yes, you do have that correct. Aside from just dumb loyalty and tribalism, there is a reason these Republicans, and in truth, many Democrats, are going to work to keep Gaetz's report hidden, and that is that they don't want their own exposed. Like, not a single taxpayer saw that threat from her and said anything other than like, yes, we agree, release the receipts. But I think it was probably a very effective threat on her colleagues because many of them do not have clean hands either. In truth, the ethics committee is super corrupt and compromised. Like, guys, this committee is responsible for investigating allegations of misconduct among House members, but it is composed entirely of sitting members of Congress. Like, members are obviously going to be pretty reluctant to punish their colleagues, especially when it could set a precedent for scrutiny of them and their own actions, and when it could hurt their alliances and their own positions of power. Like, come on. Additionally, most of its investigations and decisions are conducted behind closed doors. Like, there is no transparency here at all, which obviously allows for backroom deals and leniency and, like, who knows what other kinds of dealings to go on behind the scenes. And on the rare occasion when sanctions actually are issued against a sitting member of Congress, they are usually pretty insufficient and just symbolic rather than being substantive. And worst of all, when they are substantive and there are settlements that must be paid for wrongdoing, you are the one who picks up the tab, not the actual politician, because that's of course how it works. Over the last 2 decades, Congress has paid out over $17 million in settlements actually related to sexual misconduct and discrimination claims. These payments made through the Office of Compliance cover 268 settlements involving allegations such as harassment and discrimination based on race, religion, or disability. And we don't even get to know about it at the end of the day. Like, we pick up the tab and we are just dumb in the dark. We have no clue it's even happening. It's even going on. Like, this is insane. Taxpayers have a vested interest and a right to know about these things, particularly when wrongdoing is proven and there are settlements happening, which should not be coming out of the taxpayer's piggy bank. It should be coming out of the politician's pocket, period. Like, how is that accountability? You did something really wrong, and now the taxpayers are going to pay your victim for it, and you get to stay in office, and nobody finds out anything that you did. What's even crazier is Gaetz is unfortunately not the only cabinet nominee now facing serious accusations involving sex crimes. Since my video that touched on Pete Hegseth last week, accusations against him dating back to 2017 have also come to light. According to Mediaite reporting, a police report on the allegation of sexual assault against Pete Hegseth, the Fox News star nominated by President Trump to serve as Secretary of Defense, was obtained on Wednesday and contains graphic details of the 2017 encounter. The report, provided by the city of Monterey, California, was previously released to Hegseth in March of 2021 per his request. It runs 22 pages and details the allegation leveled by a woman who claimed in 2017 that she was sexually assaulted by the cable news star at a Republican women's conference. Trigger warning here, according to the report, the police were first made aware of the alleged assault when Jane Doe, who was 30 at the time, submitted for a rape kit exam at a local hospital. A nurse from the hospital called an officer at the Monterey Police Department and reported the assault claim. Days later, police spoke with Jane Doe as part of their investigation. She said she spoke with Hegseth on the final night of the conference, during which attendees were drinking in a suite and at a bar in the hotel. Doe told police that Hegseth was flirting with women and putting his hand on their legs at the conference, and this prompted her to tell Hegseth she did not appreciate how he treated women. 2 different women who attended the conference and spoke with police said that Hegseth put his hands on their legs and asked them to come back to his room on separate occasions. One of the women who worked at the conference told police that she told Hegseth the physical contact was not acceptable. She said she then called over Doe to act as a buffer so he would not continue to pursue her. The report goes on to detail some pretty gruesome and sad accounting from Jane Doe, who reports waking up in an unfamiliar room, believing she had been drugged, and then eventually going in to be tested. I can't say I had high hopes for the character of those Trump might surround himself with in a second term, and furthermore, who would choose to serve in one. But these stories are really a new low. And I guess I can't expect a man who has bragged about grabbing women's genitalia without consent, or who has been found guilty in a court of law for sexual abuse, or who cheated on his pregnant wife with porn stars and paid them off for silence, to care if the men he surrounds himself with face even more serious accusations. Like attracts like, after all. And the MAGA base has long since made its peace with their movement being run by sexual deviants and people without morals. So, I mean, they can continue employing whatever dumb mental gymnastics they want to excuse that fact. I'm honestly not interested. But what I do want to say is that they need to shut up. Okay? Like, stop calling people groomers. Stop ranting about law and order. Stop claiming you're protecting women on Capitol Hill from trans people in their bathrooms while you work to cover up accusations of women actually being sexually assaulted or otherwise harmed by the people who roam your halls. Just shut up. You do not have a leg to stand on. This is ridiculous. All right, guys, I've had enough for today. I hope you liked this episode. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and if you want even more content, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok.